Welcome to Life Skills with Aditi Silveira. Today we're going to be dealing with emotional intelligence. So let's get straight down to the definition. We can define emotional intelligence as the capacity to recognize our own feelings and those of others, find reasons to motivate ourselves, and learning how to manage our emotions in ourselves and relationships. It is a type of social intelligence. Let's look at the words that have been underlined. Recognizing one's feelings means realizing and acknowledging that this is how I feel. For example, if I feel a certain way, it means that yes, I am happy in this situation or I am angry in this situation. What does it mean to motivate oneself? To motivate oneself means to find reasons to do something. What do you mean by managing your emotions in relationships and in yourself? We all go through various types of emotions in life, positive as well as negative. It's very important to learn how to control those emotions so that they don't take the better of us. For example, let's say that we are feeling anxious in a particular situation. If we are too anxious, then it will affect our work performance. It could also affect our studies, for those of you who are students. Also, let's take a relationship. If we're experiencing, let's say, a certain form of anger, if we're feeling too angry, we may take it out on our friends, and that could definitely affect our relationship. There are various aspects of emotional intelligence, but for today's class, I've decided to choose 7 of them, namely self awareness, self management, social awareness, relationship management, assertiveness, independence, and empathy. It's important to note that the proponent of emotional intelligence is Daniel Goleman. He's also written a book with the same title. As we go through each of these aspects, we need to ask ourselves, do I have this particular aspect? Am I good with regard to this aspect of emotional intelligence? If not, I definitely need to improve. Also, at the end of each of these segments, we're going to have a section called Ask Yourself, where we'll do a little bit of introspection. I'll also share my inputs and the various ways in which I need to question myself and how I need to improve. So, let's get going. The first aspect is that of self-awareness. We may have a lot of knowledge on a lot of topics in the world, but honestly, how well do we know ourselves? Can you really define yourself in maybe 5 words? If someone would ask you, how do you describe yourself? Are you really able to do that? Many of us can, but there are quite a few of us who don't really know how to do that. And hence, the definition of self-awareness is the ability to recognize how you're feeling and why you're feeling a certain way and the impact that it will have on others. Let's take a simple example. You had a fight with a sibling or with a friend and you're feeling a certain emotion. The first step is to recognize, yes, I'm feeling angry or I'm feeling sad. The next is why I'm feeling a certain way. What exactly happened in that particular fight? Very often you ask people, you look stressed out, and they say yes. And when you ask them why, they say, I don't really know. Well, that means that you aren't very self-aware. So coming back to the fight situation, if you're able to say, I had a fight with my sibling and it turned out to be ugly, or my best friend and I had an argument and now we're not talking anymore, that establishes why you're feeling sad or why you're feeling angry. And it's important to realize that our emotions, our behaviors definitely have an impact on others. If you're feeling sad or angry, and let's say your mother comes in to ask you to join the family for lunch, and you hit back in an angry manner and say, no, I don't want to have lunch. I'm not in the mood. Obviously, your emotion and your behavior is going to have an impact on your mother. She's going to feel upset, or she may get angry and shout at you. That is exactly what it means to be self-aware. Nobody is saying that we should not go through negative emotions, but it's very important to understand why we are going through something, what exactly is causing it. They say that self-awareness is the most important aspect of emotional intelligence. So for those of you who feel that, well, I need to be more self-aware, you definitely need to work on it because it's the most important aspect if you want to improve your emotional intelligence. In order to be self-aware, they say that we need to conduct what is called a self assessment. There are various tests available online, but I think the easiest thing that you could possibly do is ask yourself, what are my positives? What are my negatives? What am I good at? And what am I not so good at? How can I improve? What kind of a person am I? And once you list these down, you really take the time out to do that, it means that you're moving closer and closer to self awareness. The last pointer is using your gut feelings to understand why you feel a certain way. Sometimes we could experience a certain emotion that's not linked to something that's taken place immediately. For example, we're feeling a sense of anxiety. Well, it could be impending examinations. It could be maybe an operation that needs to be conducted on a family member. It's not something that is happening immediately, but it is something that is causing you to feel a certain way. And if you use your gut feelings to understand that, hey, this is the particular situation that's causing me to feel this way, you're definitely self aware. So let's ask ourselves, which was the strongest emotion you experienced the last week? Well, I think for me, it was a sense of gratitude. What about you? How did you become aware of this particular emotion? Well, for those of you who are tuning in, we're all in the midst of this lockdown. And I think it's because of this entire situation that I began to be grateful for whatever I have and for the people in my life. That's how I became aware. How were you aware? When was the last time you used your gut feelings? I think that I used my gut feelings when it came to a particular situation with a friend. It helped me to understand the situation better, understand where my friend came from, what was his or her perspective, and yeah, it helped me to analyze the situation better. What about you? How do you use your gut feelings? What are the areas in my life that I need to work on? Well, I certainly know one area, and for me, it's my vulnerability. I'm not the most vulnerable person. I like to, you know, I feel emotions, but I don't like to really talk about them. Yes, it's easy to teach emotional intelligence, but very difficult to practice it. I really want you to take a few moments and ask yourself, what do I need to work on? What are your strengths? What are your weaknesses? Can you name at least two of them? I think that my strengths would include communication, and I think that I am an emotionally intelligent person. My weakness would definitely be that I'm a stubborn person, and my anger. I am working on it, but it definitely still is a weakness. It takes a lot to be able to say what a strength is and what a weakness is. So take some time out to list that out as well. You could pause the video to do the same. And the last one is, how do others perceive you? How do people look at you, and what exactly do they say? Now when they look at me, Aditi, a lot of people say I'm reserved. Many people say I'm cold. Some people say I'm bubbly, I'm lively, joyful and funny. It's important to know how others perceive you, but don't let their perception affect how you view yourself. Alright, let's move on to self-management. If you look at the very first point that I put, we have the word ruler. So each of the letters stands for a particular word that's associated with self-management. That is recognize, understand, label, express and regulate. Self-management is nothing but learning how to manage the emotions that you go through. We're all human beings. We all go through emotions at some time or the other. There's nobody here who can say, well, I'm invincible. I'm Batman. Nothing affects me. We're all affected by something or the other in our lives. And it's very important to be able to control those emotions. So let's take a particular example. For example, we'll take the example of a fight, an argument. So the first one is to recognize what you're feeling. So emotions could be disappointment. You could feel a sense of betrayal, anger, sadness, fear that your relationship with this person may never be the same. The next is to understand why you feel a certain way. Well, it's possible that the fight was maybe your friend's fault entirely. Maybe you've also contributed to it, and hence you're feeling a certain way. It could also be that the fight was entirely your fault, and hence you feel angry that maybe you couldn't change and you couldn't stop the situation. Hence, it's important to understand your emotions. The third is to label, what exactly am I feeling? I gave you a myriad of emotions. Maybe you could choose one or two of them to really hit the nail on the head and say, this is how I'm feeling with regard to this particular situation. The fourth, and I think the most important, is to express it. Very often, if we feel a certain emotion, we don't like to tap into it. We don't like to express it. So let's say you're feeling disappointed. It's important to express that disappointment. Tell your friend, I'm disappointed that you said that about me. Many of us would rather keep it inside, locked away, and we wouldn't want anybody to know. But I don't think that that is particularly helpful. And the fifth, which is just as important, is to regulate your emotions. Yes, we may feel a deep sense of anger and we may really want to rage and lash out, but that doesn't mean that we have that right to do so. It doesn't mean that we have the right to hit back at our friend or abuse them or be rude and insensitive or ignore them altogether, what we commonly call the silent treatment or the cold shoulder. It just doesn't work, and unfortunately that's because we do not know how to regulate our emotions. Another aspect of self-management is adaptability. We all go through situations in life where we're going to be tested. It's important for us to be able to adapt to each and every situation that we're put into. There are definitely going to be situations that we don't like. For example, in this current lockdown scenario, we're all put in this situation that seems fearful. It's so uncertain. But how do we adapt? We make the best use of everything that is around us. And instead of being grumpy, instead of grumbling and being anxious and finding reasons to complain, we could adapt and we could adopt an attitude of gratitude, a sense of pleasantness and happiness with our loved ones around us. The last three, self-control, transparency and stress management, are also aspects of self-management. I already spoke of self-control. Transparency is in a way linked to expression. Stress management is a separate life skill that we will deal with in another video. So let us ask ourselves, what are those areas of my life in which I have to show self-control? For me, it is my anger. I try to not let my anger affect other people. What about you? How can I be a better person? This is extremely subjective, and I'd like you to pause the video at this stage and truly ask yourself, how can you be better? Up next, social awareness. Being socially aware means being aware of the people around you. It means understanding people's non-verbal communication, understanding and responding to the needs of other people, and having a certain sense of flexibility. You and I, brothers and sisters, we are selfish people. We don't like to look beyond ourselves, but we need to realize no man is an island. We don't live away from others. We do live in the midst of other people, and hence we need to be socially aware. We need to be aware of what the people around us are going through, whether it's our family members, our friends, our classmates, our colleagues, whatever we are. We cannot say, well, I do not know. I do not understand. How am I supposed to do that? I'm not a mind reader. Well, let's look at the next slide. Maybe that could help you. Are you able to identify the emotions portrayed on each of those people's faces? I'm not going to tell you the answers, but I hope that you're able to identify how each person is feeling. Everyone in our lives, every single person will go through a particular emotion that will be displayed in a certain facial expression or a gesture. Are we able to read and decipher and say, hey, I think my mom is angry? Or hey, I think my classmate is really happy. He did get a 10 on 10 in the test. Are we really able to look at other people and understand? If not, it's high time we work on this aspect of social awareness. So, let us ask ourselves, when was the last time I was able to gauge a situation well? I think I had a particular incident at work, and I think that helped me to understand what everyone was going through, and that's how I gauged it well. What about you? The next one is really important. Do I put others before myself? Be honest and answer it. Alright, we now move on to relationship management. Each and every one of us will have a relationship with someone or the other, whether it's our family, our friends, our loved ones, our classmates, our colleagues. Relationships are one of the most important aspects of our lives, and let me be honest, I think we take them for granted. We don't really look at our relationships and say, thank you so much for this particular thing that I have with you, this friendship, this bond, this love we share. We take it for granted, all the relationships that we have for people. But let me tell you, friends, that relationships are extremely vital for our own well being. And it's high time now that we stop for a minute and ask ourselves, do I really appreciate my relationships? And how can I be better in my relationships in order to improve my emotional intelligence? Relationship management means using personal information and information about others to handle one's relationships and develop interpersonal skills. A very simple example would be if you had a classmate sitting next to you, or if I had a colleague, let's say in the staff room, who looked visibly upset. If you have a relationship with that person, asking that person, hey, you look upset, is everything alright? And a friend will tell you, maybe a particular family situation, or a financial difficulty, or a particular emotional turmoil that that person is going through. And your relationship is established, it is solidified, and the person feels, hey, I have a friend who cares about me. I have somebody who really wants to know what's happening in my life. Ever so often, we take our relationships for granted. We do not check in on the people that we love. And in our minds, oh yeah, my family members are fine. I'm sure my friends are doing okay. As for my colleagues, they're always busy doing something or the other, and my classmates look perfectly okay. But are we able to scratch the surface and go beneath and truly ask ourselves, hey, I think that friend of mine is going through something. Maybe I should ask. Maybe I could do something about it. When was the last time you did that? The next aspect of relationship management is conflict management. No relationship is without bumps in the road. All of us know that. For those of you who are in a relationship with a partner, you definitely understand that the test of a relationship is definitely the fights that you have and your ability to recover. That is where conflict management comes in. Your ability to handle a particular stressful situation, a fight, an argument, in the best way possible so that the relationship is still secure. That is what is most important. Many of us lack in this particular area. Our pride gets in the way, and we want to solve conflicts and arguments and fights and discussions in the ways that suit us best. But that may not always be the best. For example, if you had a fight with a loved one and you know that the person is in tears, your pride will stop you from approaching that person. But what about the aspect of relationship management? If you really truly care about your friend, your loved one, you set everything aside and ask that person, I'm really sorry that you have to cry. What exactly is upsetting you? I'm sorry about this fight. How can I make it better? That is conflict management. In our professional lives as well, we will face a lot of conflicts at our workplaces. It's important for us to know how to handle conflicts well so that we're able to manage our relationships with our peers effectively. One of the other aspects of relationship management is teamwork and collaboration. Everywhere you go, you're going to work in a team. Whether it's at your office, whether it's you as a student, you will have your project group. You can't say, I'm going to fly solo. This is how it works. Definitely not. Teamwork works on relationships. The relationships between the leader and the rest of the team, how everybody works together to make sure that the goal is met. We need to remember that in order for a team to work well, relationships need to be maintained. And so, let us ask ourselves, when was the last time I worked on my relationships? I have to be honest and say that's only now, in the midst of this lockdown, that I am truly working on my relationships. I'm trying to be a better person and revive my relationships with my friends in a better way. What about you? How do I show love to my loved ones? This is entirely subjective, and I want you to take some time to answer this question. Let's move on to assertiveness. To be assertive means to be able to clearly express your thoughts and feelings. Many of us are shy and scared to really say what's on our mind. But let me tell you, that is one of the aspects of emotional intelligence. Being self-confident, knowing that this is who I am. Let's say, for example, somebody asks you, which is your favorite cricketer or your favorite footballer? And if you say, well, I like them all, that's not really being assertive. Saying that I like this particular person, and they will ask you, why do you like that person? You have to be able to express your thoughts and feelings extremely openly. Being assertive also means learning how to stand your ground. It means sticking to what you believe in and being firm in your values. All of us will face situations in life where our values will definitely be tested. People will ask us, hey, we're going to do a particular thing. Would you like to join us? And you know that it's not correct. If you're assertive, you'll be able to stand your ground and say, no thank you. You go ahead if you wish to. But many of us cannot be assertive and say, all right, I'll give it a shot. Not being able to stand up for what you believe in means that you lack that sense of self-confidence and self-belief. We need to work on it, friends, if we really, truly want to be emotionally intelligent. The last aspect is open, direct, and honest communication. Our ability to clearly express what we feel in a situation. For example, if let's just say that a particular friend has met with an accident and everybody's discussing what should be done. How do we reach out to this friend? How do we help him or her and their family? If you have a certain opinion on this topic, it's better to just be open and communicate it well. You could say, guys, I think we should not interfere. Maybe we could send across notes to this person via WhatsApp. But our friend needs time to heal and time to be better. Maybe in a week or two, we could drop in and see how he or she is feeling. Say what's on your mind. Don't ever hold back. Ask yourself, when was the last time I was assertive and I had to put my foot down for something? To be an independent person means to be self-directed and controlled in one's thinking, to not be emotionally dependent, and to have a sense of self-reliance. How many of us can truly say, I am an independent person? Many of us depend on our family, our friends, our loved ones, our colleagues, our classmates to do something or to form a particular opinion about something. How many of us can stand independent and alone and say, no, this is how I'm going to function, or this is how I think? It's very difficult, my friends. But again, if you want to work on your emotional intelligence, this is something that you definitely have to do. Learn how to be independent. Nobody is saying that it is an overnight process or that it is easy. But learn to believe in yourself more. Push yourself to be completely reliant, where you do your work by yourself, where you form your opinions by yourself. You have your own clear-cut way of thinking, such that you stand out when everybody knows, hey, that is how Aditi thinks. That is her way of thinking. That is her flow of thought. Everyone should be able to look at you and say, hey, that is XYZ's way of thinking. And it is much appreciated. So ask yourself, are you truly independent? Do you rely on people to form your thoughts and opinions? Be honest with this as you take time out to answer this question. The last aspect is that of empathy. An empathetic person puts himself or herself in somebody else's shoes. There is a big difference between sympathy and empathy, and the difference is service oriented. Let me give you a perfect example. A friend of yours has lost a parent. Being sympathetic, you feel bad. You feel sad. An empathetic person feels sad, feels bad, but is service oriented. He or she will do something about it. You are able to put yourself into that person's shoes, in that situation, and really feel the emotions that that person's going through. A sympathetic person will say, I'm sorry for your loss. I really wish you didn't have to go through all this. An empathetic person will say, I'm sorry for your loss. I really wish you didn't have to go through all this. Let me do something for you. Tell me how I can help you. And an empathetic person could maybe arrange flowers for the funeral, stick around after that to talk and make their friend feel better, be with the family members, spend some time, maybe make some food, drop it off during the week, drop in for a family visit to check on how his or her friend is doing. Now you know the difference. So are you sympathetic or are you empathetic? When was the last time you were truly able to understand what someone else went through? Also, do you resolve conflicts easily? Are you able to put yourself in the shoes of another person when you have a fight or when you have a conflict? I recently went through this with a friend where my pride stopped me from being empathetic in a situation. And it's only after my friend broke down when we had a fight that I was able to put myself in my friend's shoes and realize that he was hurting, that he was really feeling bad, and that all he wanted was for me to be a better person. And that's how I resolved that conflict, by being an empathetic person and realizing that this is how he felt and that I needed to change. It's not easy, friends, to be empathetic, but it is also a very, very crucial aspect of emotional intelligence. So ask yourself, are you sympathetic or empathetic? Why is it so important that we focus on emotional intelligence? Today, in our educational system, we are forced to work on intelligences that are technical or related to our fields. But honestly, that isn't the only type of intelligence that we need to survive in today's world. We live in a society and we are surrounded by people. Hence, we need to be socially intelligent. And emotional intelligence is one aspect of social intelligence. So let us look at the importance of emotional intelligence. The first one is self development, better physical and mental health. If you are an emotionally intelligent person, you are aware of what you're good at, what you're not so good at, where you need to improve, and how your skills can be used in the best way possible. Hence, you can work on your self development. An emotionally intelligent person also experiences better health on the whole, both physically as well as mentally. We take for granted our health today. We presume because, well, we're young, we're healthy, but that's not always the case. Emotionally intelligent people are aware that their emotions can have effects on their health physically. For example, how many of you, when you're stressed out, have stomach aches, headaches? Some of us get dandruff, acne, our appetite's affected, so is our sleep. Well, isn't that all related to physical health? What about mental health? How many of us, when we're stressed out, feel a sense of anxiety, panic, fear? We can't study well. We can't do our work well. Isn't that related to our mental health? The next aspect of the importance of emotional intelligence is with regard to our relationships. Like I said, our relationships are one of the most important aspects of our life. And let me tell you, if you want to have better relationships with your family, your friends, your loved ones, your classmates, your colleagues, then work on your emotional intelligence. You will be able to understand them better and really, truly work on any issues that crop up. The last is with regard to the workplace. For you, my dear students, in a few years' time, you're going to step out into this great big world and be a working professional. How does emotional intelligence help you at the workplace? First up, it's your leadership skills that really truly matters. Tomorrow, you could be given an assignment and your boss will say you are going to be the leader of your group. Your ability to handle the team and to get the work done showcases relationship management. You need to know how to communicate with your boss and with your peers. Again, an aspect of social awareness and relationship management. Less conflicts. Everyone is going to face problems at their workplaces. But how do you work on this? This is an aspect of, you could say, self-management as well as relationship management. Your problem-solving skills too will definitely be tested. Working together as a team and collaborating in order to solve a particular problem. Also, asking yourself, how can I improve? Where did I go wrong? So here again we have self-management and relationship management. Here are a few facts with regard to emotional intelligence. Emotional intelligence is a skill that can be learned anytime. It can also be an innate trait. So there's nobody here who can say, well, I'm not emotionally intelligent and that's the end of it. No, it's a skill. A skill is something that you can learn at any point of time. Emotional intelligence never stops increasing. For all of you out there who say, yes, I am emotionally intelligent, it doesn't stop there. Don't draw the line at just being an emotionally intelligent person. Keep working on increasing your levels of